Hey.
Guys, Helgi, thank you very much for that inspiring talk, and please do accept my commiserations in advance of your inevitable defeat after I disabuse this fine audience of the delusion that medicine is in some way the best career in the world. Of course, it's not the best job in the world. It's not even the second best. The sad truth is that medicine is the worst job in the world, and it's the worst job in the world because of you, Helgi, and also because of me, and because of you, and everybody in here. So I can see I've got some distance to go to persuade you that medicine's the worst job in the world, so I'm going to need the help of this guy. Does anyone know who this is? He looks like a nice chap, doesn't he? He's got this kind of like hippie bead thing going on. He certainly doesn't look like the sort of man who'd use public money to systematically torture family pets. Well, this is Martin Seligman, and he invented the theory of learned helplessness. So he's the guy who discovered that if you put a dog in a cage with like an electrifiable floor and a little lever that turns the power off, it'll learn to push that lever as soon as it feels a shock. But if you put a second, less fortunate pooch in a second, less desirable cage with an electric floor, but this time no lever, then dog number 2 quickly learns that there's nothing it can do to control its environment. When the power goes on, it just rolls over and it takes the shock, even when you take the roof off the cage, so it could easily jump free if only it had the presence of mind to simply look up. Now, Professor Seligman's campaign of canine electrocution was not in vain. Dog number 2 has demonstrated the state of learned helplessness, and learned helplessness perfectly encapsulates the mindset of most of us in medicine, and that is why medicine is the worst job in the world. Now, think about it, people. From the very first day at med school, when you stiffen your resolve and you step into that weird-smelling room full of dead people, medicine begins to let you know you're in for shock after shock, and there's nothing you can do about it except roll over and whimper and go, okay. Yeah. This is you. Yeah, this is you. So medicine turns around and says, welcome to the club. You're going to do 2 more years at uni than everyone else, and there's no holiday in those years. And when you graduate, you get minus 80 grand and a life pass to a career with double the divorce rate and double the alcoholism rate and triple the suicide rate of a normal person. And you roll over and you go, okay. Yeah, this is you, Janis. Then medicine goes, hey, you told us about your brother's wedding 9 months ago, but we only started looking for a locum yesterday. And of course, no one will do it because the government has decided from now on we're only going to pay locums in magic beans. So of course, you'll have to do it. But you didn't expect anything else because for the whole of your 20s, while your mates were out meeting girls and drinking tequila like normal people, you were staying up all night sticking needles into old ladies, and you roll over and you go, okay. And then medicine goes, hey, you know those lovely quaff points you keep collecting so diligently? Well, it turns out you're too good at that, so we've decided next year we'll only give you half the money, but you'll have to keep doing the work because the CQC will put the data on a website and they'll press release it to the tabloids, and if you haven't hit all the targets, you'll find yourself named and shamed on the front page of the Daily Mail, and you roll over and you go, okay. And then medicine says, hey, you know that pension you've been putting into for the last 15 years? And we kept saying, yeah, your life's awful right now, but you've got that awesome pension to fall back on when you retire. Well, funny thing, we're going to take a couple of £100,000 off the final value of that, and there's nothing you can do about it. And you roll over and you go, okay. And then medicine says, hey, guess what? You're going to love next year. You're getting a 30% pay cut, and we're doing a rebranding exercise. So Saturday night is now called Monday morning and remunerated accordingly. And we're going to remove the only safeguards that stop the hospital from making you work 120 hours a week. And we're going to tell everyone that we've done it because you're lazy and because you're greedy and because you lack a sense of vocation. And if you don't agree to it, we're just going to do it anyway. And then something new happens. Now, 2 things happen here. First thing, I get home from work and my wife says, dude, why does your Google history say dogs with sad faces? Yeah, you told me you're a cat person. You know. The second thing that happens, I look at this picture, I look at this picture and I am filled with a sudden hope for my profession. I look at this picture and I see thousands of beaten down, electrocuted dogs who've taken shock after shock, and suddenly they've looked up and they've realized there's no roof on this cage. What would happen if I didn't just roll over? What would happen? My point is that medicine could be this fantastic job that Helgi's told us about, but only if we can shake off this learned helplessness. Now, I appreciate this talk has been kind of low on evidence, so here is a token graph. The purple line is the average UK salary in real terms over the past 8 years. 3 of the other lines represent different grades of junior doctors, and 1 represents members of parliament, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out which is which. Guys, there is a ballot starting next month, and I need you to do something for me. If you're a junior doctor, have a good think about how you want your life to progress. You can keep the status quo, and you can vote for a succession of worsening shocks piled one on top of another until you're just a cynical old burnout shouting about dogs to a room full of strangers. Or maybe, just maybe, you could look up. Yeah. And if you're not a junior doctor, I want you to look out for these guys, okay? I want you to go home and I want you to talk to your friends and talk to your families, and I want you to write to your MP, and I want you to go onto social media and tell everybody that someone's out there electrocuting dogs and we need it to stop. So, medicine is the worst job in the world, but only if you let it be so. Thank you very much.